The next presenter is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. She told me I was not allowed to say anything off script, so I will read this. But I will say that she gives the best advice of any human being on the planet. Her recent advice was, whatever you do, do not floss on the Kelly Clarkson show, Shannon. I did not floss. I did some of this, but I did not floss. What if I floss here? Oh, she's so mad at me. DuShaunBranchPollard is a badass community organizer and yoga instructor, trained to instruct children from preschool to high school, with a focus on advocacy, social justice, and restorative practices. She is, and I can attest to this, obsessed with podcast Oprah and Beyonce. I have attended some of her yoga classes, and they are transformative. I can say that. We listen to Sade. It's amazing. Please welcome DuShaun.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm excited. I couldn't remember why I put some of these slides in here, so I'm watching it with you. But I remember now, I am the type of person who wears my baby in a carrier to the farmer's market with the Black Lives Matter button and looks at everybody in the eye to see what they have to say. This talk is telling you a little bit about me and the impetus of who and why I am, and this is my 12-year-old. She is one of the reasons for the work that I do. This is her in the yoga pose. I try to get her to do it, but I do the work that I do because I want her to have a place to relax. And as a parent, I need it too. So this is my baby girl who I hope to go into business with as a yoga instructor as well. When she comes to my yoga classes, she is always on the mat. And she will get on and rub somebody's hair and also do down dog. She is perfect at down dog. So she is the impetus again for why the work that I do. I put my husband in here. I thought I took him out, but he's still here. I don't know, but he will be excited that I did leave him in these slides. But he is someone who is very supportive, and I just want you all to know a little bit more about me as I get into how I got into yoga and the practice and why I love that work so much. So this picture is a little bit of why I started. Laquan McDonald, once he was shot, it was a reason that just shook me to my core in this city and just made me want to act, made me want to scream. And he is somebody who I hold near and dear to my heart. And I have had a path that has been really different. And again, Philando Castile is another one. I was working in higher ed once he lost his life by police, and I was just lost and angry and hurt. And it really did something to me. I wasn't in the work that I was in yoga as an activist before these deaths. And Sandra Bland, again, when she lost her life, she is someone who I feel like was walking a path similar to mine, worked in higher education, lived in Naperville, went to church with my uncle, and I said that could have been me. And those are reasons why I have followed the path that I am now on. And so in anything that I do, I give praise and honor to them, as well as Eric Garner, someone who has also lost his life at the hands of the police, and someone who said, I can't breathe. I want to give space to Black and brown people so they can breathe. And that is why I have him in my slides as well. Like I said, I worked in higher education before my current work of organizing. These were some of my students who I love dearly. And doing that work, I saw the anxiousness that students went through. I saw the issues that they held on to, trying to live up to their parent standards, live up to the world standards. I also saw that, it was just so much happening in the world. And so I started to do things like this and take my now 12-year-old out and go into spaces and yell and shout for the people that you saw on the previous slide, because this is what the work needs to happen. And these are some of my students who were at my last college. I saw them after the election really in pain and just going through a lot. And I was like, okay, I want to be out here shouting and yelling all the time, but I know that's not sustainable. what are other things that I can do to help them and help myself? I was always practicing yoga. I am someone who loves it. This is me teaching a class, and this is how most yoga classes look. I'm the only one, and it is a lot of white, lovely people, but I'm the only black person. I'm the only plus-size person, and I was like, you know what? I get zen here. I need to create spaces for people like this. So this is what I'm trying to create. This is a class of girls that I taught over the summer. I just got a note from one of them who said that she now practices yoga every day so she can get calm and stay woke. I said that is the reason why I do this work all the time. I also do this work for kids like this. This was a yoga class, believe it or not. They had on book bags, they were not paying attention. But okay, you are the warrior, cool. You know, calm looks different. It's not always the same as a yoga class that you might be in. But making space again for people like them. This is a student who I had in one of my summer classes, and really which put the emphasis on why I'm now creating my own business called the Sage God Collective. I want to create a collective of young people who are doing yoga. This young girl came into class first day, said she wanted to kill herself, said she didn't have anything to live for, and she was smiling on that last day of class. This young lady, she talked about fighting in school and getting into it in our classes. We had such deep conversations. And again, I am a space maker for people who look like me, people like my daughter, people like my youngest daughter, and people like her who can come and say that I am important. Making spaces for women to lift their hands up and breathe. Again, we just don't have enough of that in this world. Like I said, I'm sure a lot of you have been to yoga classes, and I'm sure you haven't seen a lot of people who look like me. But I guess if you come to one of my classes, you might be the minority in that class, just so you know. This is also something that I do in my yoga classes. Have the teenagers talk about things. I spend 5 hours in my teen yoga class, so we do an hour of yoga practice and then have conversations. How many places where teens can go and express themselves fully? This in my summer class, the boys led a class, and seeing all young men getting led by other young men just really did something to me, because I said, this is the work that I'm meant to do. I'm meant to make spaces again for people like this to normalize this behavior, because this is not what we see. I am here, again, like I said, for my daughters, because I believe that equity and equality is important. I believe I'm going to fight hard and yell loud for Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, and I'm going to make spaces for us to relax and calm ourselves down as well, because all of those things are very important. Thank you very much.